This session is about airworthiness of an aircraft. Is about International Civil Aviation Organization, Annex 8. I will explain to you later on what is ICAO and what is Annex 8. So the objective of this session is to provide the participant with awareness about aircraft airworthiness and requirements for an aircraft to be airworthy. So we always been flying an aircraft, and obviously if you fly an aircraft, you are able to buy the ticket, aircraft is airworthy. So no one will fly in an airworthy aircraft. But we must know how to make the aircraft airworthy, what is the process, and how to maintain the aircraft to be continually airworthy. Second objective is to ensure compliance with airworthiness requirement for you to have an airworthy aircraft. So for those in the aviation industry, your job is to ensure the aircraft is airworthy from the design, productions, operations, maintenance, and the knowledge here will be able for you to make better decisions, and hopefully you are able to understand more of the aspect of aircraft airworthiness. Third is to provide ideas for research, and also the information will allow you to be able to establish a research problem. There are problems which are having by the aircraft, and there are also areas for aircraft airworthiness which the fellows, researchers, academia will be able to venture into it. This is a rare area. There are not many people go into this, and basically this is a lot of things to be done in this area. The last one is to provide knowledge. Whoever attended this session, you are the student going for aircraft maintenance license. You are now doing part 36. This is can enhance your module 10. Module 10 is aircraft legislation. So the knowledge here could add into that knowledge, and that probably will able to help you to pass your exam for your module 10 exam with the CAA. So this is the objective of the session. So let's look at first, who am I? Just briefly about myself. I have been in the industry for 31 years, and I started my job with Aerospace, and then I moved to Australia. I worked for Eagle Aircraft for design and certification of composite aircraft, and then I came back. I worked for the Department of Civil Aviation for aircraft airworthiness. So then I went for early retirement, and now I'm working for the University of Kuala Lumpur. So I also involved in other areas. I'm also the one of the investigator for MH370, and also the helicopter 9 MIGB. That helicopter crashed near Kajang, who our ex-minister Arwah Tan Sri Jamaluddin Jajis was on board. And I also the technical expert for SIRIM in auditing most of aerospace company in Malaysia. And the last 3 years, I also involved in the SME COP program, developing small medium enterprises in aerospace manufacturing. And technically, I'm a trained structure analyst. I also work on APA, FAM, and I'm also doing some work with experimental aerodynamic, and I'm now focused more on try to more focus on risk assessment, risk management. I am also auditor for quality management system ISO 9001, 9100, and 9100, and also working on organization development and a few others. So that is about my background. So whatever I'm giving you today is basically sharing information. Basically, that's why you can see there are not many the text. Basically, just the text is a cue for me to speak to you, and I can entertain question and answers at the end of the session. As long as you're able to ask a question, I will stay on. Stay on before Zoho. Okay, the content of this session, I'll be talking about International Civil Aviation Organization, International Civil Aviation Organization Convention, International Civil Aviation Organization Convention articles, International Civil Aviation Organization Standard and Recommended Practices, Malaysian legislation with respect to the International Civil Aviation Organization, International Civil Organization Annex 8, which is Airworthiness of Aircraft. This is the main topic that we will talk about. And then I will also touch on airworthiness. There are two aspects of airworthiness: initial airworthiness and continuing airworthiness. For the person involved in aircraft design and certification, this is very important for you. How you're dealing with initial airworthiness aircraft. I will explain to you what the aspect of design requirement for you to be able to get the aircraft certification. Then airworthiness requirement, airworthiness code. TC is type certificate and TCDS type certificate datasheet. The type certificate is to declare the aircraft is meeting the design requirement and environmental protection requirement, and the aircraft is eligible for production. And once completed the production, is eligible for it to be issued with a certificate of airworthiness. Then I also talk about aircraft certification basis. This is the basis of the aircraft to be airworthy. And later on, we talk about the simple about certificate of airworthiness and certificate of airworthiness for export. So basically, I cover from the legislation, from design aspect, and also from the airworthiness awarding of the airworthiness certificate. Next, let's talk about International Civil Aviation Organization. So International Civil Aviation Organization is a body under United Nations. This is similar to the UNESCO, similar to UNHCR. We always talk about it now because there are a lot of people in the country under the UNHCR. So those are the agency under United Nations, and ICAO is set up as an agency to handle standard and rules for international civil aviation. So it's also a forum. They have conferences every year and discussing issues about the safety of the aviation industry. I think recently there are a lot of discussion about COVID at the ICAO conferences or ICAO level. The office is in Montreal, Canada, and there are also regional office. The nearest one to us is in Bangkok. So then Malaysia. So most of the state in the United Nations is the signatory state. So the signatory to the convention. So when you are the signatory to the convention, they will call you as a contracting state, because it's just like contract. You are one of the state which are signing up to the ICAO convention, and they call you as contracting state. So Malaysia became a contracting state in May 7, 1958. So it's not too long after we got the independence in 1957. So most countries in the world who are the members of the United Nations will be the ICAO member or ICAO contracting state. I believe Taiwan is not, because Taiwan is not a member of the United Nations, because Taiwan is been declared under one China, and China government claim Taiwan is part of China, and they veto Taiwan to be the member of the United Nations. So ICAO, Taiwan is not a member of ICAO states. So ICAO and then convention. Okay. Briefly about ICAO, I have explained a convention. In 1944, what is a convention? It's a meeting. So convention is a meeting. In 1944 in Chicago, 52 states came together in a convention, came together in a meeting. So 1944, it was a war. At the time, they are shooting at each other, and it's a heavy war, and a very heavy war in Pacifics, and I think it's a Normandy, and it's a very massive war activity. However, 52 states able to sit down in Chicago to discuss about international civil organization, civil aviation, how to manage, how to coordinate, how to fly civil aircraft safely. So that's about the meeting in 1944 in Chicago. In the convention, they produce articles. Article is the resolutions. During that meeting, they have resolution, and the resolution was published in article. There are 50 over at the time, but now I think it's 90 over. This document you can download direct from the Google. You can have even original ICAO Convention article with original signatures of the member state in 1944. So I will go through this briefly. I won't be able to go everything because a lot of them. What is important here, whatever you do now in aviation, whatever legislation you came across in aviation, basically you can track back into this article. So the article is the basis of the whole aviation regulation around the world. So Article 135 will stop to, for example, Article 6, Schedule A services. So we have to have Schedule A services. No schedule international air services may be operated over into territory of contracting state except with a special permission. So this why in Malaysia, if you're operating Schedule A services, you must apply an air service permit or air service license. For schedule is a service license, for non-schedule is a service permit with Ministry of Transport. In the past, now is with MACOM. So that is allow you to operate the aircraft. And then 10, 12, 16, 24, 29. 29 is very interesting for a person, for the people in a participant who are now working for the industry. You may wonder why the aircraft have to carry the following documents. Okay. So Article 29, before international flight, the pilot in command must ensure that the aircraft is already duly registered and the relevant certificates are on board of the aircraft. So you must carry on board the aircraft certificate of registration, certificate of airworthiness, passenger name, place of boarding and destination, crew licenses, journey logbook, radio license, and cargo manifest. So this is mandatory requirement. You may come across this checklist when you are dispatching the aircraft, but you may wonder where is the requirement come from. It comes from Article 29. And if you don't carry this, if you landed somewhere in another country and those country authority board the aircraft and they check, you do not carry the registration or certificate of awareness, and they can just bar the aircraft from aircraft again. So they can just ground the aircraft, even though the aircraft is perfectly airworthy. Because yes, you don't carry the certificate, you may be grounded at that country. So that is because of Article 29, which has been agreed by all the member states. Then it talk about aircraft. It's very interesting who are working on the. This is also article on RPS, Remote Pilot Vehicle. I believe Article 8 is not here. So that is also something has been discussed during in 1944. We're talking about remote pilot aircraft, RPA, and also now the unmanned aircraft system legislation is following that article. So now you go to article, the most important one is article, the topic of discussion today is article 33. So article 33 is the basis of the aircraft certificate of aircraft airworthiness. Basically the aircraft certificate of airworthiness. So we read this first in the bracket, recognition of certificate and license mean that the member state should recognize each other's certificate and license. So no argument if the state has issued certificate and license, no other state will have to argue about it. They may argue on the implementation, whether that has been done properly. However, they cannot reject that certificate and license outright. So then you see the certificate of airworthiness, certificate of competency and license issued or validated by the state. The state is a member state of ICAO in which the aircraft is registered shall be recognized or valid by other states. The next sentence, the requirements for issuing of those certificates or airworthiness, okay, certificate of competency or license must be equally to above the minimum standard established by the conventions. So the certificates to be issued according to the standard and recommended practices published by the International Civil Aviation Organization. There are 19 standard and recommended practices. So issuing the license, you must follow those standard and recommended practices. In the case of the certificate of airworthiness, you must follow standard and recommended practices Annex 8. Title of Annex 8, which the title of Annex 8 is Airworthiness of Aircraft. So everything should be following the Annex 8. I will show you what's Annex 8 in a few moments. So this is the basis of the airworthiness. So the basis of our discussion today, the basis of people working on aircraft, and you need to ensure the aircraft is airworthy. You have to have a maintenance program for the aircraft. You must only allow people with the competency, the license to work on the aircraft. Those are basically come from the articles. And basically, mainly, if you talk about aircraft airworthiness, it comes from Article 33. Then there are others. Okay, now, then this article, if you read the article, is very basics, very brief. You're unable to do anything just reading the article. So that's why for further, article is been enhanced into standard and recommended practices. And the ICAO term or aviation term, we call it SAP. If you heard people talking about ICAO SAP, SAP is standard and recommended practices. So standard is something most member states, all member states to follow. Recommended practices is a best practice. So you may follow, you don't follow, it's not a problem. But standard you must follow. However, ICAO is not a regulatory agency. If you don't follow, they can't punish you because they are just issuing standards. So just like we in education, you may have ISO 9001. That is quality management system for the organization, for the university. However, you must have approval uh, by the Ministry of Education to operate as a university and to conduct them. Okay, so those are the two things. So same here, ICAO is not regulatory agency, they just produce standards. So member state to follow the standard. If you are unable to follow the standard, you must report or you must file differences. You must declare that you are unable to follow certain standards, and they call this process, they call it declaring differences. And the ICAO will record what are your area of non-compliant, and they will publish it to the member state of your status of compliant on the standard and recommended practices. 19 of standard and recommended practices, and from 1 to 19, I will go through it briefly. For example, one is talking about personal licensing. Okay, flight crew, aircraft traffic controller, aircraft maintenance personnel. So in aviation industry, we have to license the pilot. You have to license the maintenance personnel. You have to license air traffic controller, and you also have to license the loaders, so the dispatchers. So those are licensed people. The license means privilege. So you have been given privilege, and once you have the privilege, you also have obligations. So those are Annex 1. Anything to do with personal licensing is Annex 1. Then you talk about 2, 3, and 5, and 6. If you're operating aircraft, your airline or your charter operator or you're even a private owner of the aircraft, you must look at Annex 6, operation of aircraft. There are many volumes. I think there are 3 volumes of this. Very thick documents for you to read, go through, and to see how to comply. And then Annex 7 about aircraft registration. So aircraft registration marking for Malaysia is 9M, for Australia is V, and for UK is G. So each country been allocated with registration number. So you want to know what are the registration number of the country, you go to Annex 7. It will explain to you. They will list down all the countries and also the registration numbers of the state. It is our discussion today is airworthiness on aircraft. 9 is facilitations. 10 is telecommunications. 11 is air traffic services. Aircraft been flying, all the route has been managed by air traffic services, and the pilots flying the aircraft should follow the directive or the directions or the communication through the air traffic controllers. So it's Annex 11. And Annex 12 is SAR, search and rescue. If the aircraft go down, the aircraft have to go through the search and rescue. So they deploy the SAR. It's not aircraft accident investigation yet. It's under the SAR. Unless you find the aircraft and then you go to Annex 13, aircraft accident and incident investigation will start. Annex 14 is aerodrome, airports. We don't see the word airports here, but the terminology that we use in aviation for airport is aerodrome. The aerodrome now is all the takeoff, all the runway, taxiway, and part of the building. Those are aerodrome. And 16 is environmental protection, which is noise emission and fuel venting. 17 security. 18 is dangerous good. All the dangerous good to carry on board aircraft, you must apply for the approval. And 19 is a new one, been introduced recently in 2013. With this is safety management system. There are a lot of risk management, risk assessment, hazard and risk identification in this Annex 13. This is something that's new, and it's also something that we have to develop the competency. So for universities, I believe I may suggest that you look into the safety management system because it's still an infant stage, and there are a lot of areas to explore. So there are 19 annexes, and each annexes they also a document to support it. So this document to support it, they call it ICAO docs. So each of these annex, there are few documents to support, to explain in detail about the content of this requirement and annexes. So you can read them together with the supporting document. They call it ICAO doc. So next is we're talking about Malaysian legislation. So what do we do with it? So we have signed up to the convention ICAO in 1958. So what do we do as a member state? So for any world convention, when you sign up to it, you must ratify. So you must ratify what you do in your country. How you bring it into your country. How we bring into the country, we have Civil Aviation Act 1969. So Civil Aviation Act Section 3 said, power to give effect to Chicago Convention regulate civil aviation. This go back to 1944. Chicago Convention and also Convention Article. Article did not appear here, but when we talk about Chicago Convention, they talk about convention and the article come with it because they came together in 1944. So we have Civil Aviation Act 1969, which state in Section 3, the minister may make such regulation as he consider necessary or expedient to give effect to and for the better carrying out of the object and purpose of this act to provide generally for regulating civil aviation and for carrying out the Chicago Convention and annex to it and any amendment to such convention and annexes. So I have shown you the articles, which is the Chicago Convention. I've shown you the annexes. So the section 3 says that you must develop the regulation for those aspect of article and annexes. So we have that in the top level. So the Civil Aviation Act is a power. This power, Civil Aviation Act 1969, give power to minister to make regulation. Then the minister make civil aviation regulation. Sorry, it's a word wrong here. Malaysian Civil Aviation Regulation, not Act. 2016. The latest one is Malaysian Civil Aviation Regulation 2016. So because of the section 3 of the Act, so Minister of Transport in this situation here published Malaysian Civil Aviation Regulation. The latest version is 2016. And still, later on I show you, not complete. There are areas need to be enhanced in terms of interpretations. So some area are very brief. We are not able as industry to follow, to do, and to understand it. So there are also published another supporting law. They call it subsidiary regulation to support the main regulation, Malaysian Civil Aviation Regulation 2016. So there are 5 items, document, notices, directive, information, requirement, and circulars. So these are published by the CEO of CAM to enhance to support the Malaysian Civil Aviation regulations. So the power of this CEO of CM to publish this document is stated in the Civil Aviation Act, section 24O. So if you don't comply, you'll be penalized, because even though you see this, it's not clearly seeing this as a regulation, but this is a regulation to support the Malaysian Civil Aviation Regulation 2006. Then example of the information. One of it is information. Example of this is this here, aeronautical information services. So informations. So information, when you see words information, it is under the 24O. Then for this case, 04/2008, talking about unmanned aerial vehicle operation in Malaysia airspace. So this old one, the new one has been published recently, but this old one, but this just an example of what is information. So information here is the same status as regulation. So for the participant working on the aircraft, please beware, this is regulation. It's not just another piece of document or information just for you to follow, but this is regulation, means that you must follow. Then there's another example on notices. This is certificate of airworthiness. If you're applying for aircraft certificate of airworthiness, you go to notice 8301, issue 1, published on 15 April 2016. So this is notice 8301, explain in detail how to get a certificate of airworthiness of an aircraft. And then you can see here the legal status under the topic and under the first page of the notice. The bottom section, it clearly state that non-compliant with the notice. Any person who contravenes any provision in this notice commit an offence and shall, on conviction, be liable to the punishment under Section 24O of the Civil Aviation Act 1969, which come with the penalty of 5 years jail and 500,000 ringgit fine. So that is how you've been penalized if you're not complying working in the aviation industry. If you're not complying to the regulation, it's heavy penalty. So this is an example of the legislation, and down here we have then this is our legislation. Yeah. So means that I show you ICAO, I show you article, I show you the annexes, and this is the framework of Malaysia. And let's go back talking in detail about airworthiness. So that's complete. We're talking about legislation. I think at least you have understanding how the legislation being brought into the country, where are the basis of this legislation, which is from the IQ articles and annexes. So now let's go back into the airworthiness. So airworthiness is detailed in IQ Annex 8, International Civil Aviation Organization. Annex is standard and recommended practices. Somehow the number 8 is airworthiness of an aircraft. This is the document. You can purchase this document, or you can get from the library. So it's not cheap, it's quite expensive. It's $100 over, I believe, per document. So this is the first page. This is how the thing look like. So what are the content in this annex? So these are contents. There are 7 parts. Okay, and also in part 2 there are 5 chapters. So let's try to go through it briefly. Part 1 is definitions. So part 1, if you are trying to define what is airworthiness, what is continuing airworthiness, and then you go to part 1. It defines the terms properly. So anything that you want to refer to, you go to part 1. They have the clear definition and also the validated definition of the words that you're talking about. Part 2, procedure for certification and continuing airworthiness. So certification, talking about here, you can see chapter 1 for type certification, chapter 2 for product certification, chapter 3 for certification of airworthiness, part 4 for continuing airworthiness of the aircraft, and part 5 is safety management. Safety management is talking about hazard identification, risk assessment, and mitigation. So this part 2 talking about the complete process of getting the aircraft into the air, getting the aircraft with the certificate of airworthiness from the design. Type certification is issued at the design stage. Production is and then production is the production approval of the company making the aircraft. And once aircraft completed, the aircraft is ready for flight, and then they have to issue certificate of airworthiness for the aircraft. Okay, part 3 on above, 3, 3A, 3B, 4, 4A, 5, 4B, 5, 6, and 7. So these 3 onwards are technical specification, technical requirements. So this is the basis of the airworthiness requirement, design requirement, you can say. People say airworthiness requirement, some people say airworthiness code, some people say airworthiness requirement. But this part 3 onward, talking about the detail of the design requirement for the aircraft. For the aircraft, for case of part 3, large aeroplane, and for part 4, talking about helicopters, and part 5, talking about small aeroplane. Part 6 for engine, part 7 is propellers. And there are a few things here, 3A, 3B. This is the block of aircraft when you certifying it and what are the design requirements imposed on it. So I don't want to go into the detail. However, just stick to part 3 talking about large aeroplane, part 4 talking about helicopters, and part 5 talking about small aeroplane, part 6 talking about engine, part 7 talking about propellers. So we'll go into large aeroplane. Large aeroplane is what we are flying now, or the 320, 380, 747, 787. Those are large aeroplane. Large helicopters, we're talking about the Super Puma AW139 and the twin engine, more than 2-seaters. Those are large helicopters. But for then talking about small aeroplane, anything below 57, you're talking about all the 750 to 57, you're talking about Eagle aircraft, you're talking about Liberty, you're talking about Diamond, Cessna, Pipers. Those are under small aeroplane. And 6 and 7 engine and propeller. So this is the content of the Annex 8. And these technical requirements are not used direct, because ICAO did not encourage member state to use this Annex 8 as a regulation of the country. So the country need to convert this into your own regulation to suit your own requirements. So basically, this is the basis, not to be used as the country regulation, but the basis to develop the country regulations. So most country will develop the aspect of aircraft airworthiness based on this Annex 8. Next, we're talking about each of the technical requirement. You can see, for example, part 3 is large aeroplane. Each of these technical requirement, there are detailed specific requirement to be followed. There are 11 chapters. One is general, 2 about flight. Flight talking about the aircraft maneuverability, performance, takeoff, landing, stability. Those are 2. Structure, talking about structure construction, talking about factor safety, talking about aircraft such as strength, no allowance for deformation. So those are in 3. 4, design in construction to make the aircraft, how you want to make the aircraft, what kind of process, and what material to be used, how to choose material, where are the valid information for you to get the material. 5 is engine, 6 is propellers, 7 power plant installation. So and 8 is instrument and equipment, this is avionics. 9 is operating limitation information, all the manual. Aircraft must have manual, and all the manual required because of chapter 9, operating limitation and information. Those should be in the form of manual. We have overhaul manual, we have structure repair manual, we have maintenance manual, we have operation manual, we have even a detail of component overhaul manual, component maintenance manual. So those are manuals. Aircraft flight manuals, those are required because of chapter 9. Then 10 is containing airworthiness management information. The aircraft maintenance program are developed based on requirement of 10. You have to maintain the aircraft according to the maintenance program. All the check in there to ensure the aircraft is airworthy. 11 is security. Security is basically part of design. Security in this aspect is, you can see if you hear about this cockpit door, blast proof cockpit door, here, flight compartment intrusion, those are under chapter 11. And next we go to aircraft airworthiness. Okay, now I think here we talk about the Annex 8, and we continue on how we deal with it, how we how we interpret it, how we develop this airworthiness into more workable kind of documentation or legislation. So what happened is, in fact, in Annex 8 also talking about initial and talking about continuing airworthiness. So the perspective of airworthiness have 2 areas, initial and continuing. So initial, basically most of us hear about part 21, and continuing here is talking about training, which is the training organization, conduct the training 147, and the syllabus for the training is part 66, and aircraft containing airworthiness is part M, and containing airworthiness management organization is part CAMO. This is new, this is just this year. And you are maintaining and overhaul the aircraft is part 145, and now there's a new part came out, is part COA. Part COA is for aircraft below 57. This is an organization you can maintain, and you also can manage the aircraft airworthiness. So these are the aspect of continuing airworthiness activity and organization for aircraft. For the part 21 is initial, the initial airworthiness. They're talking about there are subpart A up to Q, and here we talk about type certificate, subpart B, changes to type certificate, subpart D, supplemental type certificate, this is modification to the aircraft, is subpart E, and production of aircraft, subpart F and G. F is if you are starting making the aircraft, you do not have the production approval yet, you can do it under subpart F. And you have production approval, which is subpart G, and aircraft airworthiness certificate, subpart H, and I is noise, J is design organization, K is appliances and parts approval, M is repair, O is TSO, technical standard order, P is permit to fly, Q is part identification. So these are all the legislations. If you are making the aircraft, you must understand this legislation, because you cannot make aircraft as you like, you must make aircraft into this framework. For example, you're talking about part identification. So how to number the part, and part has to be numbered. How to number it, why you need to number it. So you go to subpart Q, and you also, for example, you're going for design, you are establishing yourself as a design organization to design aircraft, and then you go to subpart J. So part 21, subpart J. So this is the aspect of airworthiness. So it's very comprehensive, and a lot of things come to it, and we have it require a lot of people to on it as well. So this is the whole perspective of airworthiness. So I think it's very important if you are in education for the student to understand this better, because if they understand this aspect better, they are able to be in job market. I mean, they are it become easier for the industry to pick them up because they understand the regulation better than the rest. Now you go into is the whole framework. You can see here is very comprehensive activity, and for your information, all this activity just to ensure the aircraft is airworthy. The whole the whole activity you see from here in this box here are to ensure the aircraft is airworthy. Only one objective: the aircraft must be airworthy, and you need to do all this process. You have to follow all this legislation to ensure the aircraft is airworthy. So it's not a chat, a complex chat. And then I will give this slide later on, this document, then you can share with the rest. So this is just another information for you. Then you can see, now we talk about airworthiness code, airworthiness requirement. You are talking about technical requirement earlier. So how they publish it in detail, they publish into, this is the most common thing that we use. For small aircraft, we have Part 23 or CS23. So FAR Part 23 is published by FAA and CS is published by EASA. Why I put these two here? Because this is the most common one. So technical requirement in the Annex 8 earlier been translated to the detailed design requirement, and this is a detailed design requirement. And then you can map back to the ICAO technical requirement. For example, CS or 425, this is the, I think, chapter 3 of the Annex 8. So this is the detail. And then in Malaysia, how do we see this in Malaysia? How we accept this? How we deal with this? So in Malaysia, you go to Malaysian Civil Aviation Regulation 2016. You go to Regulation 25. There's a statement here. The DG now should be replaced with CEO. The CEO may adopt the airworthiness code from any contracting state as the national airworthiness code with such modification as he thinks fit. Means that if you are applying to design an aircraft, and then you must present to the authority the airworthiness requirement that you want to use, or the design requirement you want to use. So for the case of Malaysia, you can present, you can adopt any airworthiness requirement from any state. So this is what you mean by Regulation 25. So most of the time we use either EASA or we use either FAA, because why? Simple reason, for EASA and FAA they have a very extensive supporting document, meaning that they have very comprehensive document report that you can refer to for you to able to design, be able to interpret the design requirement, and be able to satisfy the regulatory agency on the requirement, because the requirement is just a brief, and how you want to interpret it, and what kind of showing compliance you need to do, what kind of test you need to do. Those are in separate document, and for the FAA and for EASA, they have extensive document for us we can use easily. So that's why we basically follow, we use FAA or EASA in terms of certification of aircraft or modification of aircraft. And then the next, we talk about type certificate. Uh, okay, for the type certificate, every aircraft that you want to have airworthiness, you want to be airworthy, means that the aircraft are able to be issued with a certificate of airworthiness. The aircraft must have type certificate first. So that's a prerequisite. If you go to CA, bring an aircraft, and they ask you, do this aircraft and having any type certificate? You say no, you won't be able to get the certificate of airworthiness. Mean the aircraft cannot fly. So the first prerequisite for aircraft to be airworthy, the aircraft must have the type certificate. So the type certificate, what is it says here? Type certificate state that. What is type certificate used for? The type certificate is just a document to say that, to declare certain certify that is word that used in the type certificate. Certify that the product type design listed below is a list of aircraft model, complies with applicable type certification basis and environmental protection requirements. I will show you later on what is type certification basis. So just a word, just type certificate, just a page saying that certify that product type design comply with the certification basis and environmental protection requirements. That's all. Nothing else. So just a declaration by the authority issuing the type certificate of the compliance to the cert basis. So this is what, and then this example type certificate. I think it's not big enough. This is one of Eurocopter EASA type certificate, and you can see the word that I extract is from this middle paragraph, and this is the aircraft model. So this is a very small aircraft. I believe this is a this aircraft is not known to many people. Okay, that is TC. Now after the TC, each type certificate will have type certificate data sheet. Type certificate data sheet will explain the aircraft in detail. If you are dealing with aircraft, you either doing anything. You're doing repair, you're doing maintenance, you're buying aircraft, you're selling aircraft. The document that you need to study is a type certificate data sheet for the aircraft type because it has all the detailed information on the aircraft. So this is an example of the type certificate for EASA, and this is a requirement by the ICAO. If you have to issue certificate to signify the compliance to the technical requirement, and then every country will have this. Malaysia have to issue used to issue two type certificate. One is for the Eagle aircraft and one for the MD-3160. So those are the two aircraft certified in Malaysia, and Malaysia's DC at the time issued two certificate, mean these two aircraft is certified and designed in Malaysia. Designed and certified in Malaysia. Then you go to the next page of the continuing page of the type certificate. It states there the model and also the owner. You can see the name here, Airbus SAS, the type certificate holder, and the address where they are. It's very important because type certificate is an asset, is sellable. Basically, the two that we had in Malaysia, we bought it. We bought one from Switzerland for MDT-160, and we bought one from Australia for the Eagle 150. We bought and transfer. So that's why it's very important who are the TC holder, the company name, and the location. This is the owner of the type certificate. Then you go into the detail, and it has a content page. The page here, you can see what are in the type certificate. Data sheet is the performance data, certified authority, the manufacturer, EASA. Okay. The most important thing is the part 2 here, certification basis. Remember that the statement about the TC, certify the aircraft comply with the certification basis. For this case, A350, the certification basis of A350 is here. Everything that inside here is basically to be complied. It must be complied at all time. For anyone that maintaining the aircraft airworthiness, you must ensure the para 2 is always compliant. Any non-compliant of the para 2, nullify the SOV. And the SOV is no longer valid, and basically for the insurance, it's a zero loss. You won't be able to claim anything. So this is a type certificate data sheet. So let's explore the certification basis, because this is the core. So the TC declare the aircraft comply with the cert basis. And what is the cert basis? And the COA is only can be issued with the TC. So this is how we link them together. So the cert basis, there are a few areas here. First is one here is airworthiness requirement. I've been explaining to you about airworthiness requirement. So airworthiness requirement is used here. You see here, EASA certification spec 25, CS25. So this A350 was designed to CS25. And a few notes here. I won't go through in detail because it will confuse you. So what you need to understand here, the A350 is designed and certified to CS25, large aeroplane. Okay. Then you go into para 2. Para 2 is deviation. So in this situation, if you are applying for aircraft certification, you submitted that you are complying to CS25. However, as you go to design, some area you may not be able to comply, and some area is not sufficient. In some area you can't comply direct. In some area may not be relevant to you, and then you are allowed to file, for example, deviation. So mean that you are not following what is in the evidence requirement. You apply to the authority, you want to deviate. So you can disallow, you are allowed to do that. So that's why there is a paragraph 3 here. Item 3 here is deviation. For the case of 350 here, there's no deviation, they call it none. And then you have 4, equivalent safety finding. Equivalent safety finding is area where you are unable to comply direct. Mean that if you have to do the test and you are unable to do the test, but you do simulation, and then it becomes equivalent safety finding. Take for example, you are applying to certify an aircraft. One of the requirement of the aircraft is a flutter test. Aircraft free from flutter. And if you have, and then the requirement to be certified, you must do flutter flight test. And the A380 has done that, and the first flight they failed, and some part of the structure at the landing area broken off. That is how dangerous and how critical is flutter flight test. So they only passed the test on the second flight, and then they reached the Mach 0.96. It's very high speed aircraft considered for that size. So now, if you are able, you're not doing the flight test. You said to authority, say I don't want to do the flight test, but I have a very good reliable software which I can simulate the flight test in the software. And then the authority will validate it, and then they go through the detail of the software, and then you also verify, you also validate, you justify the software accuracy, and then the software are able to simulate comparably to the flight test, and then if authority agree with that, then it is become equivalent safety finding, because you're not doing the flight test, you're doing the simulation, and it's in the category of equivalent safety finding. And then you can see the next paragraph. Here is special condition. Special condition, anything the authority thinks the current airworthiness requirement, the current CS25 is not sufficient, then they will impose additional requirement. So special condition basically is additional requirement imposed by the authority on the aircraft design and certification. And then you go into environmental protection requirement. You must design the aircraft, you must comply with the Annex 16, noise, and also fuel venting, and also emissions. So you have to comply to that. That is part of your set basis. And the last one here is quite new, just came out recently. This operational suitability data. So you must establish what is your operational suitability data, and you must make sure the document is updated, the document is published, the document is disseminated properly. So there is become one of the certification basis in the aircraft design certification. So these 6 items here make up the cert basis, and everything once you comply with these 6 item in the certification basis, you are eligible for the certificate of ordinance. So in this case, A350 has complied to all the 6 items. That's why they have the type certificate for this model, A350. So this is about the cert basis. And the TC holder, who are allowed to apply for the TC? Because you see, you saw the TC earlier, you saw the TCDS. Now the question is, who are allowed to apply for the TC holder? Who are allowed to apply for the TC? So you must be the person, the organization issued the TC, they call it a TC holder. It is an organization. The organization must be Part 21 Sub Part J, Design Organization Approved Company. So what it be, this organization must be an organization, not a person. Organization. What are the function of the organization? The function of the organization is to show compliance. Remember the TC say declaration of compliance. So this organization should show compliance. Basically, the compliance finding should be done by the authority. However, they delegate to an organization. That's why you have to go through certain process for you to be issued with the design organization approval. With that approval, there's a license. License come with a privilege. Privilege is to show compliance to the design requirement, to the airworthiness requirement. Then for you, obligation is to make sure whatever you do is according to what has been approved, what process that it has been approved. For you to apply to be a DOA, you must send set of document to explain to authority how you do your work. So basically here briefly what I'm trying to show you, this is a standard work of the design organization, the standard work of TC holder. First is a product spec. So this is standard design. You come up with any design and you come up with the basic design, you come up with the general design. Now, before you go to detailed design, you must work out what will be the design requirement. So here, box here, you talk about airworthiness and environmental protection requirement. So here is the set basis. So you must negotiate with authority what would be the set basis of your detailed design based on your concept. The product spec is concept. Then you go to detail design. Before you go to detail design, you must make sure you are able to comply with all requirements unless you not be able to get the type certificate. If no type certificate, no certificate of airworthiness. So here is a lengthy process discussion with you, DOA, and the authority. What will be the set of set basis? You can see earlier what is set basis. The set basis I have explained to you in the A350 type certificate data sheet. The 6 items. So you have to discuss those and agree and finalize it. Once you finalize, you have to show compliance to each requirement. Each requirement you must show compliance until everything is shown satisfied, the authority will issue with the type certificate. So this is work activity within the design organization. And then what will be the design organization character? How do they look like and what they are doing? So design organization is an organization. They have to have three functions in the organization. You must do design, you must have design function, you must have awareness function, you must independent monitoring function. So these are the three main functions of the organization. If you don't have these three functions in the organization, you are not be issued with a certificate with the design organization approval, and you are not able to do design. You go to regulation, Malaysian Civil Aviation Regulation, Regulation 21, say that anyone or any organization intended to design or designing aircraft, aircraft part and component must be approved by the CEO or CM. So that is the first thing you need to do. How to be approved? You must present yourself as an organization. So what the organization doing? The organization should have these three functions: design, airworthiness, and independent monitoring. So design function here is just standard design. You do the CAD, you do all this stress analysis, you do final element, you do the internal testing, you do the flight testing, and those are under design function. Awareness function basically is declaring the compliance to the requirement. Whatever requirement has been set earlier, especially on the airworthiness requirement in the CS25, you must show compliance to every one of them. And that is a function of awareness, to show compliance to every requirement. For CS25, it's about 1,500 requirements. You have to show compliance, every one of them, and you have also to show, not just declare. Show mean that every requirements, every lines, every paragraph out of the 1,500 line requirement, you must have validation. You must have report to substantiate. It's not just declare without substantiation. Everything must be substantiated. You must substantiate everything that you declare. Independent monitoring is just like the quality, which is managing the system, make sure everything done according to your procedure. So this is the organization structure. So for you, take for example, I have more interest now on unmanned because the future unmanned aircraft system will be certified. For 150 kilo and above, you must have a TC, TCDS, and this is just another aircraft. So you have to prepare for that if you are design, certifying, or operating aircraft. I mean, beyond 150 kilos, and you have to go through this process. So this is a process you have to go through, and then you have to establish yourself as a design organization. You have to have the people, you have to have the resources to function, to carry out these three functions as the DOA. And then if you applying for design, product design, and your product has been approved, the product have a TC, you are this UA is a TC holder, type certificate holder organization. Then after that, you now you have a TC. TC mean you are eligible the aircraft. The aircraft now, after all this process, the aircraft having a type certificate. So the type certificate is a prerequisite for the for you to be able to apply for the certificate of airworthiness. Before that, let's look at the definition. What is airworthy? I came to explain about the definition later because this is where we're trying to look at what is certificate of airworthiness, what is airworthy. So airworthy, you go back to Annex 8, Part 1, and there is a definition. Airworthy, the status of an aircraft, engine, propeller, part, when it conforms to its approved design and is in condition for safe operation. So mean that when you find the aircraft is according to the design. What is the design? The design in the cert basis, which we have discussed at length with the authority. You have discussed at length with the authority before you start design. So when you do the design, you must comply everything to that requirement. That is one. And another aspect is for in condition for safe operation. So this is subjective to the operator. How you want to say the aircraft can be operate safely. It depends on the detailed operation requirement. So there's nothing. It's not really linked to the design. What is your obligation? Then aircraft continuing airworthiness. The aircraft airworthiness to be continued airworthy. How to be continued airworthy? There's a definition here under the ICAO. The set of process by which aircraft engine propeller part comply with the applicable airworthiness requirement and remain in condition for safe operation. So the same thing. So here initial, you show compliant to the airworthiness requirement. This is as you operate the aircraft, you show compliant that the airworthiness requirement is maintained as what it was before. So now the aircraft can be continually airworthy. Here is a chart, is a basic chart how to get the certificate of airworthiness. Now you understand the airworthiness, the meaning of airworthiness, the meaning of continuing airworthiness. This is a chart summarize how to get the certificate of airworthiness, how to get the aircraft to be airworthy. As first here, you must have a design organization to design an aircraft to show compliance of the aircraft to the airworthiness requirement. Then you are eligible to be issued with a TC by authority. Once you have a TC, you must manufacture it. It's either you subcontract the manufacturer or you sell to others to manufacture, or you manufacture yourself. However, whatever you do, that organization must have production approval. For Airbus, they have both DOA and POA. Boeing, they have both DOA and POA. So they are OEM, they design also they manufacture. But there are also companies only as POA. It is feasible to just manufacture the aircraft. So here, once you have the TC, you can negotiate with any production approval to start manufacturing. So once manufacturing complete, manufacture to the requirement, manufacture to the technical data. Technical data published by DOE. Those technical data, they call it type design data. The word they use for the technical data is type design data. So this type design data is used by POA, drawing, the CAD, whatever information that used to make the aircraft used by the POA. POA declare compliant if compliant to the drawing, to the data, and they are able to issue the certificate. If the aircraft sell to other country, so they are able to declare, to apply for certificate of airworthiness for export from the authority. Once they have that, they can sell to other countries. But if the aircraft sell to local owner, local operator, and then you have to get another organization, you got continuing airworthiness management organization, to look at the aircraft in terms of the airworthiness, then they have to declare, they have to issue a report, aircraft review report, and then airworthiness review report, then airworthiness review report will be presented to the authority, authority will review it, and then you got the certificate of airworthiness. And if you have to maintain some aircraft new, however, it requires some modification. That modification is something that you need for the operation aircraft, and that modification, the system that you install, part of in condition for safe operation. So if that is the case, then the installation of the mode should be done by MRO. Once done by MRO, and the CAMO will load the document, load the data, modification data to the MRO. Then the MRO will do it and then give all the document back to CAMO. CAMO will review, they look at all the work done. Also, they come inspect the aircraft, and then they also declare, they will issue a airworthiness review report for the aircraft certificate of airworthiness. If the data is not OEM data, the data is generated locally by the airline or by another design organization, then the data should come from approved design organization. So if the data does not come from approved design organization, the data is considered as fake data, or you consider is a bogus data, and the data cannot be used to be installed the part and component of the aircraft. So this is the whole perspective of the certificate of airworthiness. And you can see the number here. The number here is in the notices. If you're looking for DOA, you go to notice 8401. You can get the notice from CM website, and CM website, there are lists of notices you can search through. And if you want to go for DOA, you go for notice 8401. And you want to apply for the TC, this DOA, apply for the TC, you go to notice 8107. And you want to manufacture the aircraft, you go to 8201. And then you want to issue export certificate, you go to notice 8304. And then if you are CAMO, you go to 6102 to be a CAMO, and to be MRO 6501. And this is DOA again. DOA may not be OEM DOA. This OEM DOA, this is independent DOA just for the mod. So this is separate approval and separate organization. And then you issue the certificate of airworthiness, you go to 8301. What are the prerequisites of the authority to issue certificate of airworthiness? So this is the whole framework of the aircraft airworthiness. Then look at the legislation. So here is the framework, and just try to visit the airworthiness in the aspect of Malaysian legislation. For the aircraft airworthiness in Malaysia, you go to Malaysian Civil Aviation Regulation 2016, Part 3. Part 3 is dedicated for airworthiness of aircraft. You got numbers, Regulation 21 down to Regulation 43. And then edition for 44, 45, 46. So everything here in the regulation from 21 should be complied. Otherwise, you won't be able to have the aircraft to be airworthy. So for example, here 21 certification of approval for design, manufacture, and construction of aeronautical product. So you must get approval. And then validate. If you bring aircraft from other country, you need to validate aircraft. You have to look at 22 and move on. So this is basically how to get the aircraft airworthy in Malaysia in terms of Malaysian legislation. So and then Okay, I think this something end here. I have started looking at the showing you from the aspect of uh, the ICAO conventions. Sorry, ICAO conventions and articles, looking at the standard and recommended practices, and move on into the awareness, into the definition of awareness, and then how to be issued the certificate of awareness. Yeah. So here is ICAO. I talk about conventions, this meeting. I talk about articles, what has been published during the convention. I talk about SAP, standard recommended practices, the Malaysian legislation, how we bring all ICAO into Malaysian legislation. And then we talk about ICAO Annex 8, specific on aircraft airworthiness. And I talk about initial airworthiness and continuing airworthiness. Airworthiness requirement, design requirement. The type certificate is a prerequisite for you to get the certificate of airworthiness. And I talk about cert basis, and those engineering awareness requirement is the cert basis. And I talk about who are eligible to apply for the TC. Only the TC holder, the organization who own a DOA, who has been approved as a DOA to design aircraft, design and certify aircraft, and those are the applicant of the TC. And once they have the TC, they are the TC holders. And also I talk about COA, how to get it away, and what is the awareness requirement, awareness legislation in Malaysia. I talk about that as well. And now, lastly, I talk about the challenges that what we're facing now. What we're facing now is a awareness legislation framework. If you go through the legislation, if you compare to other country, ours may not be really modern or in line with the rest. So there's a challenge. Someone has to take this one up. And also the next challenge will be unmanned aircraft system is something that coming to us. We cannot run away from this, and we should have legislation for it, because IQ has envisaged that this unmanned aircraft system will fly alongside another civil aircraft. So that's why unmanned aircraft system will be another aircraft. It will not be any different from other aircraft. The only difference is the pilot is not in the aircraft, the pilot's on the ground. Even very challenging, because there are a lot of technology to be put in to allow the pilot to operate as equal environment as the main aircraft. So that's why they also requirement, if you go to FAA requirement, they also have to have a see and avoid system. So just like you flying on board aircraft. And then awareness of aircraft airworthiness. This is something which is, I believe, as I was with the authority, and also now I'm also doing some consultancy and doing teaching at the universities and doing a few short courses. And in my opinion, there are lack of understanding on the aircraft airworthiness, and then this is something we need to enhance. And also the new thing is coming up now. We have the EASA approach is more on prescriptive based design, and I mean they're moving away from prescriptive based design. They are more on risk based design. And through my research, risk-based design is being used by the Marine. So most Marine has been using risk-based design. I think evidently you can see all the yachts, basically they have different look, different style, different performance. So the risk-based design allow you to be flexible rather than prescriptive based. So these are the new challenges. So I think I end the session here. It's been more than an hour. So I believe now it's open for question and answers. Thank you.
My name is Fahmi from UTHM. I have a question because we
Yeah.
you talked earlier that regarding part COA lah. Because we know already the conventional way of airworthiness is that you have CAMO and also you have AMO. Now we are start introducing, I think it's into this year kan, where
Yes.
we have part COA which we can combine if it's in small aircraft. So,
Yeah.
Prof, I would like to know lah. Now YASA already say that this is new regulation. How does it went through until CAM? Are we going to see
Okay.
new regulation coming? Thank you, Prof. Can you have your comment, please?
Okay, so yes, very good. Basically, the new part, the previous part is part M, KAMO, Continuing Awareness Management Organization, and part M also there's part F. So mean that part F is MRO. MRO there are two, part 145 and also part F. Part F is below 57, like aircraft. So part F was just another MRO. However, I think EASA believe that will be penalizing the general aviation, small aircraft operator. So that's why they introduced a new one, which is a Part CAO. Part CAO means organization allowed to maintain and also allowed to manage the aircraft airworthiness. Okay, that is very good. I believe Dr. Fahmi also happy with that because he's operating a flying club, flying school. So it's happy because easier and more flexible for the flying school. I mean, for that kind of category of operation. Okay, CA. CA, I believe they must be aware of this. However, in my past experience, what you need to do as an industry, as an operator, you may start to talk to them to discuss on what is the possibility to introduce this COA as soon as possible. And I believe
That's good.
if they need help writing up or something, offer help for them to write the new requirement. That is the thing they can do. You cannot do it for them, but you may offer help to. I did a few times offer help to write the new set of rules. Basically, just cut and paste from what from IASA. That's what we did anyway. So that is my suggestion. So by doing that, you are basically helping them in terms of resources uh, to introduce this as soon as possible. But the first thing you need to do, just have a small discussion with them. Just say that there's a new part COA. This part will help the business, and you just request them to introduce this as soon as possible. May not be appropriate just to ask them to introduce this. What you need to say is, what is the position of CAM regarding this new part COA? That is the first question. If they say they like it, they love it, and they also like to implement it, and you may offer say how can you help to get this to be introduced as soon as possible. Okay, Dr. Fahmi?
Okay, Prof. Thank you very much. Because actually now we already have our chemo being certified lah. So
Ah,
now we are looking into what MO. So with this new regulation, then we don't have to lah. We got only COA. It's better that we can maintain ourselves and operate.
sure,
Yeah, thanks.
sure, sure, sure. For right now, what is certificate for below 750 aeroplane? Okay,
Or is it
the,
Dr.
the
Faisal
type
can elaborate more?
okay, the type certificate is it okay, like I said again, the type certificate is just a certificate certifying or declaring the aircraft complies with the certification basis. Okay, so for 750, yes, that is already okay. Only technical requirement, only aircraft that have the technical requirement in Annex 8 will be issued with the type certificate. That is what I heard, I got from the CM. So we go back to Annex 8. I think the last one, the Part 5, which is a small aircraft. So 750 and above, they allow the type certificate. You are eligible to apply for the type certificate. Mean that if you design the aircraft complies to the design requirement, then which has been agreed by the authority, you are eligible to be issued with the TC. Other than that, no. In the US, in the Europe, there are systems they call it restricted type certificate. I don't think we have it here yet. Yeah, I don't see in the notices we talk about restricted type certificate. The restricted type certificate will be eligible for restricted certificate of airworthiness. So that is how the European and the American deal with that. So your question is, what is the type certificate for 750 aeroplane? 750 aeroplane, semua airplane, semua helicopters, they don't have a proper type certificate. Some country issue the type certificate, they issue a restricted type certificate. So that is answer. I don't know whether I'm answering the question or not.
Okay, Prof, there's a second question from Mr. Ricky. So you can
Ricky,
help.
Ricky,
Okay,
hi
okay.
Ricky, yes,
All right.
yes,
So
yes.
that's the question he wrote over there. So what are the
Okay,
challenges
okay.
in setting up a challenge, a DOA organization?
Okay, DOA is now become uh, critical because any modification, any repair, anything that outside the standard airworthiness data, any data you introduce is considered as a modification. Okay, the challenge is first is the setup is costly, and the people that you need to bring in also expensive. There are no economic we call it this economically is not feasible. So that's a challenge. The second challenge is the experienced person, the competent person, experienced on the aircraft design certification, basically is not easily get. You won't get it easily. So those are challenge. And to maintain the organization, if you are doing work, you're not doing work, you still have to maintain the organization. It's also costly because you have to get these people fully employed. Because the requirement is the core people must be the permanent employee of the organizations. Ricky, is it answering my questions?
Yes, Prof. Thank you so much for the question, for
Yeah.
answering this. Is
Yeah.
that one of the reason? Is that one of the reason why there's not many DOA organization in Malaysia? Is that the reason? It's expensive to operate, hard to find experienced people.
Yes.
I see.
I also involved in one or two in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, the issue now you're unable to get the revenue to pay your people.
Okay,
I mean,
okay, okay.
how much what that you have, because Malaysia we don't have that many activity.
Mm-hmm. So
Uh,
as an operator, some of the airlines and all those or smaller operators, they are not able to have the design approval. So basically,
yes,
the other alternate choice that they do is actually whatever data they want, they actually send it back to OEM and then ask
yeah,
OEM for approval in that way. Yeah.
true. Yes, yes.
Okay.
This
All
is
right. All right.
yeah.
Understand.
So yeah, okay. Now the airline they have their own. They have no problems. They have technical services. They have DOE, brilliant technical services.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for example, in Australia, they're a bit more flexible. They allow the airline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have big technical services with the DOA. They allow the small independent DOA to do work for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that allows the small DOA to survive.
Mm-hmm. I
Uh,
give
I,
for example, Prof.
mm,
Let's say we have Strand Aerospace, right? And
mm,
let's say I have a mod that I plan to do locally on our airplane. I can
mm,
also subcontract to Strand Aerospace, right? I can also subcontract to
mm.
them, right?
They must have DOA. DOA also come with the rating. Either you have a
Oh,
structure, it's not free for all. You
okay,
apply,
okay.
you submit
Mm-hmm.
your application, you submit the people, they review who you have in the organization, whether the person
Mm-hmm.
having the competency for the area of scope that you apply for. If
I
not,
see.
you
I
can't.
see. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Prof, for the answer.
Okay.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay. Ricky. So Dr. Yazdi, from Parumasivam. I have a question. I'm Sata from UTM. Okay, being aeronautical student, I would like to ask, what is the best suited job for aeronautical engineer in terms of aerospace manufacturing, maintenance industry? What are the qualities who really need to possess secure the job. Okay. As aeronautical engineers, there are many things for you. However, opportunity, whether you have opportunity or not. What we have in the industry, we have design, we have manufacturing, we have operations, like MAS, lines, we have maintenance, MRO, and you have also continuing awareness management organization, and you have also training. So those are the areas that all of aeronautical engineers can venture to. But if you're going for aerospace manufacturing and maintenance, aerospace manufacturing is coming up. There is a few a big company set up. For example, we have ACM in Bukit Kayu Hitam doing composite manufacturing. We have Honeywell in Perai. We have Sam Aerospace in Bukit Minyak. We do have SME Aerospace. We have CTRM. We have Spirit Aerosystem. We have Senior Aerospace UPK setting up. We have someone in Johor. There are opportunity in aerospace manufacturing. However, aerospace manufacturing is big area. You have to explore. There are production planning. There are manufacturing engineer. There are process engineer. There are many things inside there. Basically, you're competing with other graduate, mechanical, chemical, depending on the area that you're working on. So it's a big as far as manufacturing. I think currently the most active one is manufacturing. Also, I've been working with the 30 SMEs. Now, SME Corp has developed 30 small medium enterprises in aerospace manufacturing. So it opened up more opportunity. Yeah, there are opportunity there. And what is lacking now, when I went around to the industry, what is lacking, the people are looking for the 5-axis CNC machine programmers. So they are lack of that as well. And maintenance industry, maintenance as aeronautical graduate, you may be a technical services or planner for the MRO. And the qualities. Okay, qualities, you need to have additional skill. For example, if you're going for aerospace manufacturing, please also try to get some qualification in quality management system, ISO 9001, ISO 9100 aerospace standard, for MRO, AS, okay, not ISO, AS 9100 aerospace standard, AS 9110 MRO, aerospace MRO, AS 9120 aerospace stockish. So those are something additional which is not taught in school. You may get that as far as an addition to your qualification for you to be able to get a better chance of job. And also you may go into areas, business continuity management system, and a few other quality management system, because manufacturing more focused on quality management system. There are a lot of things now in quality management system which need to be explored, and there are opportunity there. So
Okay, I think there's a second question over there, which is
dari Asraf.
from your ex-students.
Okay, MIAT as well as stated in your presentation, can you explain more regarding US, which one of the PPD civil process has been described? Okay, 150 kg more, still in the pipeline. The regulation still in the pipeline. However, we did before, during DCA time, I also worked with the Chevelle, it's 150 kg, helicopter unmanned. It is certified by the Austrian, Malaysian DCA did the type validation. We validate that model, and they've been operating. The pilot is a PPI pilot, and everything follow the aircraft. The maintenance as for the aircraft, operation as for the aircraft, only the pilot on the ground. So as far as 150 kg aircraft, whatever thing that you say is aircraft, 150 kg vehicle flying in the air, it should be certified as according to aircraft. I mean, they have to have some kind of PC, they have to go to manufacturing by POA, they have to be operated by an organization, they have to be maintained by MRO, they have to be managed by the continuing ordnance management organization. So what you need to think, if you are having vehicle more than 150 kg, it is an aircraft to be dealing like any other aircraft. Okay, Asraf?
Okay, so I hope that's
Okay,
already answered.
okay, next.
Okay, next, is there any more questions from the participants? Okay, that's from Prof. Erwin, UIA.
Okay, for Edwin. Okay. Challenge US, the deployment is very rapid now, but the civil regulation is not clear on MPO, less than 150. Can we adopt stagnate? Okay, there are three aspects here in the US. First is design of the product. Design and certification of the vehicle. That's the first. Secondly, operation of the vehicle. Operation, the operator flying the vehicle. And thirdly is the operation of the air traffic management. So as far as below 150 for design certification, uh, okay, what you need to do is, if you are really interested on this, you go to CA and try to discuss. You are designing something and then you're trying to, let me show you the slide again. Okay, uh, TC. Okay, so this is a process here. Okay, you may use this process if you have something to design, you have the conceptual design, and you negotiate with the authority on what will be the certification basis of your design. Then when they agree with certain standards, certain set of requirement, then you go follow it and you go follow the process, because you're allowed to basically propose what will be the certification requirement.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
From yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Yeah.
Okay, Praveen.
Thank you. Yeah.
Lama tak jumpa lah.
Yeah, inshallah.
We,
So
we can talk on this in detail if you need.
oh, sure,
I got
sure.
some.
Yeah,
I got some information on this, more than this,
yeah, yeah.
which is
Thank
too
you,
long
thank
to
you,
talk about it. Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Prof. Erwin. Any more questions from the participants? I have a question, Prof. How much does
Yes.
in terms of the military and the local authority, how much they recognize to each other?
How much what?
They recognize each other in terms of STC. So if
STC.
uh
STC.
yes, STC. Like say that there's a STC from
Oh,
approved
okay.
by the CAM can be used
Hmm.
in the GTA. Is it the STC that they approved by the GTA can be used in the CAM? So how much they recognize to each other?
Oh, DGTA and CA. Is it you
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah. CAM,
Okay.
DCA. Okay.
Okay. Um, there are two different worlds. So CA is talking about civil aviation, what they do as per the civil aviation law, and the design requirement also for the civil. So DGTA, depending if DGTA has been using the standards requirement, I mean they use standard civil awareness requirement, then it's possible. However, the paperwork may not be the same. The process may not be the same. So this is the process here I just show here. If you go through this process, it can be recognized. However, the final piece of certification, there is no, unless they do joint certification, then it's easier. Otherwise, it's become two different things, because the most important thing about this certification is interpretations. That's why we got stuck. If DGTA may interpret the same requirement differently, CA may interpret differently. Then because of interpretations, DGTA interpret it their way, CA interpret their way, and they can merge into common interpretation.
Mhm.
Mean now the vehicle or the component, whatever they want, is totally two different things. because the certification will be based on the compliance to the requirement. If the requirement been interpreted differently, mean the compliance showing will be different. Then you have two different things. So that's a problem. For example, we did work. I was working with Eagle aircraft. So we did the flight test, and the stall speed was 45 knots. And the way we do the stall test, we found it 45 knots. And 45 knots was the certification. Certification requirement is 45 knots. And we apply for the USTC. As we apply for the USTC, we flew the aircraft there, we brought the aircraft there, the FAA test pilot flew the aircraft, they keep flying to store, they got 47 knots. So they cannot get 45 knots, which was the CASA Australia flight test pilot did. So happened to be we had to pull back the application to FAA. We have to come back, we have to mod the aircraft. We have to mod the aircraft, and we fly the aircraft similarly to the technique of the FAA test pilot, and then we got modified. So it's about technique, how you enter the stall. So Australia interpret differently, FAA interpret things differently. Then they have two different things. That's the problem. That's the best example we had experience.
Right, thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
So, if there's any more question from the participants, right? More question? 10.
What is
More
saying?
question 9. Okay, I'm Faiz. Okay, there's a question from Faiz.
When DOA go for TC application, do they need to go for both EASA, FATC? How about CCA? Okay. DOA. Okay. Now, if you apply for the TC, you're applying through who? If you are applying a TC for FAA, okay, you have to apply to FAA. If you are applying for FATC, you go to FAA. If you apply for Malaysian TC, you go to DCA Malaysia. That's how the TC application is. So the TC, when you apply for the TC, you apply to TC to the country to issue the TC. So the country issue the TC, they call it state of design. So before you have a product, you must determine who will be the state of design. So you're talking about Malaysia, you want to have Malaysia as the state of design of your product, then you apply UA from Malaysia. And then you do all the activity as you've been approved as DOA, you can do the compliance, and you do the compliance showing according to a Malaysian DCA, and then you will get the Malaysian DCA TC. So that is about, it's not about you're talking about FAA, EASA. You must have only one. TC, okay. The TC must be issued by the state of design. And there's only one state of design for a product. So you can have many state of design. But you can transfer. For example, the MD3-160 was initially designed certified in Switzerland. So MD3-160 has a Swiss TC. So Malaysian SME Aerospace, SME Aviation bought the TC, brought it to Malaysia. They terminate the TC in Switzerland. In Malaysia, issue the TC of the product in Malaysia. That's how it works. Okay. Advanced go for FATC, yes. That TC is a validation TC. If you say, for example, Faiz, you design aircraft. You have your company design aircraft, and then you got the Malaysian TC because you want to design it in Malaysia. You are DOA is approved in Malaysia. So you will get the Malaysian TC, and then you go to FAA. You apply for validation of Malaysian TC. So that's why you got so many TC. You can see 380 having TC in Europe. You also have 380 TC in Canada, 380 TC in the US. Those are validation TC. Validation from the TC, original TC. So that's how it works. And then for FAA and FAA and EASA, they do dual certification. I mean parallel certification. So as they apply to EASA for the TC, EASA state will be the state of design. They also apply validation of the TC to the FAA. So they got both together.
Okay, I think there's no more questions. There's only a Hari Raya wish in the chat
Hmm.
box.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
so anything, a final word from the presenter, Prof?
Thank you very much. And this area is new, and for researchers, a lot of area to explore. There are also area in terms of regulations. For anyone interested into the legislation regulation, there are a lot of area. There are a lot of activity also in terms of risk. So because you need to adapt to the new style of design, which is a risk-based design rather than prescriptive-based design. The new requirement issued for Part 23 small aircraft, they have changed totally the design requirement. You can go through the new certification requirement for Part 23. You can see that totally different from what it was. So that is a new approach of the design and certification.